Hey there everybody, it's markcrilley. I'm back with another How to Draw video. Before we get started, I just want to quickly acknowledge the passing of a milestone. Last Sunday evening, we reached the level of 2 million subscribers on this channel. Just can't even believe that that's possible. It blows my mind. But of course it is possible because of you, all of you out there who have clicked that subscribe button over the years. And I'm so very, very grateful to you for your continued support. But rather than rest on my laurels and pat myself on the back, I thought, let's just do what caused people to click that button in the first place. Let's do another How to Draw video, as always. For the Friday video. And today I'm going to be doing a follow-up to the video that I did just about 1 year ago, showing how to draw the same character from 3 different angles. That time it was a female character. This time we're going to do a male character. People like to know the dimensions that I'm drawing at, so I'll just show you 2.5 inches between the top line and the bottom line, and then just divided neatly in half there. That comes out to, what is it, about almost 6.5 centimeters. And then I've just put one vertical line right here for centering this first head. And speaking of the first head, let's go ahead and get the basic guidelines for it in place. All right, so the first thing you'll want to do is get this shape of the head in place. And the one thing that makes it already just a little bit different from the female version of this video is that there's a bit more of an angle. I've put a little more of an angle here on the jaw. And that's just, I'm going to try to show every slight difference that I can so as to make this video provide different information from that other one. Now this line here that's exactly in the middle between those two, that's going to be the upper eyelash line. And before we go any further, I want to get in a line for the lower eyelash and then also just one line for the nose. All right, now I want to get on to drawing the facial features, but before I do that, I thought I'd go ahead and do the neck and shoulders because they do actually play quite a role in conveying the masculinity of this character. So again, just some basic guidelines here for the neck and shoulders. All right, well, the width of these shoulders, or the broadliness, I guess I should say, is considerable, like 3 inches really from side to side. That's way wider than when I did the female character. I think it was more like 2 inches from side to side that time. But that's a common cartoonist technique for really clarifying the male characters, like the width of the neck, much wider than we had done. In fact, some people will feel that's too wide for your personal tastes, and you can alter things to suit the way you like to draw things. But I think it is time to zoom in a little bit and get the basic guidelines of the eyes in place. All right, well, we've got the eyes in place, and I do apologize because I realize now I forgot to explain about these lines and the placement of them. You're taking this bottom area and dividing it into thirds, but the top 2/3, which are almost exactly the same size, are smaller, noticeably smaller than this bottom third. And as I said, this is going to be for the bottom of the eye. You can see how I sort of lined that up, and then this one will be for the nose. And I do want to sort of point out that this is not so much a video about how to draw the eyes. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and start drawing a certain style of eye for this character, but really the idea is to provide tips for consistency. Regardless of how you draw your character, you need to get some sort of sense of what space the eyes occupy. Like, you may decide that you want your character to have smaller eyes than this, or larger. But whatever you decide, try to come up with a sort of top and bottom dimension there, and then extend the line across, during these sort of planning stages to kind of figure out exactly where the eyes go, no matter how your character turns his or her head in space. It's all about consistency, almost in a mathematical way. But yeah, if you like this style of eye that I've drawn here, for sure you can go ahead and copy that or adapt it to your own purposes. In any case, let's go ahead and move on to drawing, well, I guess I'll go ahead and put the eyebrows and the ears in place. So, like I said, I'm doing 3 different facial expressions, and this first one will be the most neutral one. The eyebrows are sort of a certain distance above the eyes, but not too high, which would indicate surprise, and not too low, which sort of creates intensity, either anger or concern or something like that. And as for the ears, they occupy the same space that they did in the female version of the video, extending just a little bit past that line. I should point out, though, that the eyes, believe it or not, are considerably smaller for this male character than they were for that female character, although she had pretty big eyes, so maybe it just looks a little more like normal sized for this male character. In any case, I think it's time to get some indications in for the nose and the mouth. Now, when I did the nose for the female character, I remember it was really just pretty much a dot, almost. We've given him a slightly, put a little more structure into his nose, let's just say. And then the mouth, the simple, gentle smile here, quite a bit closer to the nose than to the chin. That's my little guideline there for placing the mouth. And why don't I go ahead, I'm going to put in just two simple lines here on the ears. I like to do one line for the upper edge here, and then just a little curving line for the interior. I've seen this done in manga to really good effect. It's surprising how good it looks with just those two little lines there. And now I suppose I should start putting in some guidelines for the hair. I don't really want this to be a video about hair. I know I always say that, but if you start getting into the hair, you extend the length of the video considerably. And it's going to relate a little bit to it, though. But let's get some basic guidelines in, and then I'll try to do at least some of it real time. So you can see the line of the actual hair is above what I had originally put in there for the scalp, and touching pretty neatly upon that first line that we had established at the beginning of the video. And although I don't want this to be a video about how to draw this particular hairstyle, I guess I could say a few things about how to make a hairstyle of some kind look consistent from different points of view. And a lot of it comes down to figuring out the structure of the hairstyle. Like I've decided this guy has a part that occurs right here, and so all these curving lines are sort of, even if they don't actually touch that point, they're curving toward that point. And that establishes a pattern, a sort of a structure. And then one thing that I do is I get closer to this side of the head, all these curving lines that are going along with this side of the scalp. You need to reach some sort of a point. For me, it's like right around here that those lines begin to curve in the opposite direction. But, you know, basically having established this pattern, this direction of him sort of loosely parting, I don't know if it's parting, but the hair flows decisively in this direction, then I'm going to have to be consistent about that as I draw the character, you know, from one pose to the next. I've also done some hair back here behind the ears, and notice how it comes down to this line that I'd established for the chin. That's going to be a helpful guideline later on for as we redraw this character from a different point of view. Try to keep that hair consistent. Well, hopefully that's enough for you to get some pointers on that aspect. Let's go ahead. Well, before I leave this, I'm going to just add a line for the collarbone and maybe a bit of a line on the neck. So you can see this line sort of extends from the shoulders pretty much horizontally. It dips a little right here in the middle, right along that vertical line, and then continues across. Not quite connecting. I don't like to have those lines actually touch. But this provides this structure of the collarbone, an anatomical feature that I think helps add to the masculinity of the character, especially if you put a line like this going across the neck, which indicates some of the musculature there beneath the surface of the skin. That certainly is going to set this character apart as a male character versus a female character. Well, it's time to now move on to the next version of this character's face, this time drawing him from a 3/4 point of view. So here you can see quite a different head shape as it turns in space, and I've added a vertical line here for helping us place the eyes, the nose, and the mouth later on. But I want you to pay careful attention to this contour line here, one of the toughest lines to draw, I still find, when drawing a character from a 3/4 point of view. And, you know, it can help to look back over here to where this curve in the jaw appeared, and then try to make sure that that's when that curves back towards the eye, which will eventually be here. It's sort of dipping just a little bit before it rejoins the you know, the circle of the top of the scalp. Well, let's go ahead then and draw the eyes. Now, I'm doing as I did last time with the female character, having the head at a little bit of an angle. So one of the eyes will fit neatly between these two lines that we put at the beginning, but one of the other eyes is one of the other. How many eyes does he have, Mark? Among his many eyes, one of them is going to not fit neatly between those lines. Let's go ahead and draw this thing. All right, well, I guess I'll take a little break from the time lapse and show how I would redraw these eyes from this different point of view. Now, this happens quite a lot with the three-quarter point of view. The eye that's further away from us gets compressed from side to side. This one looks a little more like the normal version that we had from the straight-ahead point of view. But you do have, having established the sort of rules of how you draw eyes, you have to keep it consistent, and this is part of how people will recognize that you're drawing as being of the same character. Now, I said this in the other video, but I think it bears repeating that, this idea of putting horizontal lines in place, I'm not going to do this every time I draw the character in the comic book. No, this is all just preparatory work for establishing my character, figuring out what the face actually looks like, and then having worked that out and practiced, then you can draw your character consistently without resorting to these lines. But I think it's very helpful to do it at the beginning when you're still planning things. Now, I just noticed that I forgot to put in the fold of the upper eyelid, line. So I'm going to go ahead and get that in place right there, and then do the same thing over here. And, this is also about putting different facial expressions on. So instead of having this sort of neutral, contented look, I'm going to give him an angry look on this face. And so that means, of course, giving him some angry-looking eyebrows. All right, so I decided to go ahead and get the nose and the mouth in place while I was at it, but of course this sort of diagonal slant to the eyebrows and drawing them down close to the eyes helps us express anger. Notice that I'm not giving a gigantic mouth of gritted teeth or whatever, just sort of a very small downward turn to the upper lip there. And all of these parts here, the mouth, the nose, and this one eye, they all sort of line up pretty neatly together, which is quite convenient, I find, when you're trying to get these lines in the right place. Well, it's probably time to draw the line of the ear, and at the same time I'll go ahead and get the lines for the neck and for the shoulders. Okay, so I went ahead and got the ear in place, and you can see that from this point of view it overlaps with that first line that we had for the shape of the head. And then the lines for the neck coming just on this other side of the chin here, giving him quite a wide neck. Certainly by manga standards. Again, some people may feel, oh, you've made his neck too wide, he looks like a football player, what are you doing? But yeah, feel free to make the neck narrower if you prefer. And otherwise, yeah, just trying to get these the angles of these lines to be similar to what you saw in the first version, getting that line of the collarbone in place, and again, this line on the neck helping to convey the masculinity. I thought I would go ahead and show you how I would draw the ears from this point of view. And I know I've referred many times to my other video that focuses on drawing the ears, but it is a handy, dandy way of breaking it into basically two different lines. And this is an even simpler version than what I've shown in the past, but I get basically one line that hooks around the contour, the edge, and then just one line here that starts to indicate the interior. I'll shade in here a little bit, that goes in to the ear. Really, you can get away with just those two lines, surprisingly. Well, we're almost done with this one. I think I'll get, as I did before, get some basic guidelines for the hair, but then do the rest of the line drawing real time. All right, so having established the hairstyle in the first illustration, we were making sure that these lines curve in a similar direction. I'm not getting obsessive in terms of, making there be the exact same number of spikes and each one is pointing in a certain direction and so forth. Although, I have noticed over the years that certain characters are like that, and it's kind of up to you the degree to which you want a character with a super consistent, almost mathematically precise hairstyle. But what I'm doing is, more or less getting the same number of strands. Not going crazy if I don't match them up exactly. But again, we reach the certain point where the lines that curve in this direction come to a middle line and then reverse course. Reverse course, Captain! Reverse thrusters! Suddenly I'm going into weird, vague sci-fi spaceship territory for reasons that are unknown even to myself. These strands of hair down here by the ears, sometimes female characters will have these strands go way down low past the ear. I'm keeping it a bit short, again, in the interests of keeping this character more masculine looking. But I did want to point out how, we had the hair coming down to that line, so I kind of have to get pretty close to the same length. And then hopefully, you've got a character that reads as the same character, even though he's being seen from a different point of view, and he has a rather radically different facial expression. So, hopefully that gives you some pointers there. I was just going to say that you might want to show some indication of the ear. I don't think I did this with the female character's video. Scandalous! Crilly! You gave her only one ear. But I thought maybe just have a sliver of the ear there sort of peeking out around the other side of the head. And now, at long last, it is time to move on to drawing the head in profile. Now, some of you who saw that other video, you may notice that I'm turning him in the opposite direction. Again, just for fun, just to show things in a slightly different light. We're going to have him facing in profile, sort of looking back at the other two versions of himself. All right, so the face in profile creates quite a different shape, and I hope this isn't too hard to replicate, but once you come down here, I decided to just have it join into the back of the neck, and we'll, maybe do more on that later on. But the thing to focus on really is getting this sort of curving S shape that comes down to the point of the nose, which, again, we want to line up with all the previous versions there. And focus on the angle of this straight line. Now, of course, I'm going to be delineating his lips and mouth and so forth, but I always like to begin with just a straight basic line down to the chin to give myself some sense of the location of those 2 points, and they can sort of help you figure out where those various lines go. Again, there's an angle there to the jaw. I think before I get onto the eyes and the nose and the mouth and stuff, let's go ahead and get the ear and the rest of the neck and shoulders in. Okay, so you can see there's a certain angle here to the neck, sort of leaning forward, and notice the distance as you go back here from the jaw to the neck. Maybe a little exaggerated from real human anatomy there. And I decided also to go ahead and get the collarbone in place, although I believe the shoulders, if this is where the shoulders are, seeing from this point of view, the shoulders will probably come in like that, some such thing. I hope I know what I'm talking about. I never have in the past. Why start now? Let's go ahead then and get in some basic indications for the eyes. I'm going to go ahead and give him a very shocked, surprised look. The female character we did before had a similar expression, but I would say she was sort of mildly surprised. This guy is going to be really stunned and sort of troubled looking. Okay, so we've got the eyes in a similar sort of configuration as I had done with the female character, but I've made the iris way, way smaller, and when you see that much of the white to the eyes, then it really becomes a look of shock. Now, the raised eyebrows in the female version were just sort of curving in a similar place, but I've added just this little hook here, hooking upwards, and that is surprisingly important for, I think, going beyond a look of surprise to almost a look of horror, I don't know, a combination of shock and dismay and being very troubled, it seems to me, once you get that little hook in the eyebrows there. Well, it is now time to move on to arguably the toughest part of the entire video, and that is drawing from the nose down to the chin. Sadly, I can't zoom in any closer than I already have. But I'll tell you what, let's begin by getting the basic guideline for the mouth in place, and maybe that'll help us find our way toward the rest of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put in just back here, sort of recessed from that line, a open mouth here. This will be his mouth, a little bit rectangular, a little boxy looking. The lower lip line is at a little more of a diagonal. This is mostly horizontal. This one's sort of coming down diagonally, just a touch. And once I've got that in place, I think I can move on to getting the underside of the nose. And this tends to create something close to a 90-degree angle when it reaches to the upper lip. And then I see a lot of manga artists especially kind of cheating things a little bit here with creating almost a 3/4 point of view while still drawing a profile. And I think it's just because it's very tricky to draw lips in profile in a way that looks natural. And I think they've, hats off to the manga artists who figured out this way of sort of doing it in a graceful way, even if it it's not completely consistent with the 3/4 point of view. But you can see how I did that, this sort of sharp 90-degree-ish angle here. And then these lines, much more subtle. I'm pretty sure that's the way I put it back when I did the female character video. Just a very subtle waving line that zigzags back and forth. But I find that it can help if you get the mouth in first before you try to do the rest of those lines. Well, let's go ahead and well, you know what I can do right now, actually, is get the line on the neck. Right? I can do that. It's just a diagonal line. Come on, anybody can do that. Get the line of the neck, again, surprisingly effective for making him look more masculine, and yeah, we should sort of repeat this configuration over here for the ear. The 1-2 step. Get that curving, curly, Q-ish line there. The crilly Q. And then just dropping in a sort of modified version of what I call the thumbs down mitten. That explained much more in a separate video. Let's go ahead then and get the basic guidelines for the hair, and again I'll try to do the rest of it real time. Alright, so got the basic contour line in there, and just want to keep consistent with that, the curvature of the lines as we had done in the early versions of the hairstyle. And again, with the principle being that I don't think anyone necessarily wants to replicate this exact hairstyle, but just giving you some pointers in general for maintaining consistency of a hairstyle from one angle to the next. And you may find that you have to sort of play around with designs. I often find, oh, the hairstyle looks great from the front, and when I draw it from the side, it looks weird. And so you have to sort of struggle and maybe compromise things until you arrive at a design that looks good from both angles. And I wonder if, there was like this part in the hair. I feel like you wouldn't necessarily see it here. I wonder if you would see it from this point of view. Probably not. It's on the other side of the head. Okay. That was a waste of time. Crilly, introducing things that are entirely irrelevant to the video. I've had it with you, Crilly. So anyway, we've got this in place, and I suppose you might want to get some indications of strands of hair back here. I guess you see hints of it here, but I don't want to get too carried away with that. And then otherwise, I think we're pretty much done. Oh, there's a couple of things that I remembered. I want to get a line for the nostril here, just a simple single line there, so that he can breathe through his nose. And also the mouth probably could use a little more detail in terms of like teeth, or just getting a little shading in there. But yeah, if you compare his look to the earlier look from the female version, that video, you are going to see that he looks considerably more shocked. And he should be, because he's looking back at two clones of himself. They've cloned me! No! That was weird. Sometimes these things just pop into my head and I say them, and then it's too late. It's recorded on YouTube for all time. Well, sadly, I think it is time to go ahead and move on to the final stages here. I'm going to fish out my trusty black Prismacolor here, black colored pencil. and nothing's so special about it. You can find it almost anywhere. Or a black colored pencil of any kind will probably still do the job. I'm going to use this for my final line work, and then probably zoom right from that into shading. Sorry, so much of the rest of this is going to have to be time-lapse, but let's face it, I have jibber-jabbered long enough, and we do want to start winding this video down. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back with some final words. Alright, well, there's my video on how to draw a manga boy from 3 different points of view and with 3 different facial expressions. Of course, I can't end this video without adding blushes. We'll have to come up with a reason why he's just feeling shy. Here, he's so angry that he's going a little red in the face. And here, I'm adding them because my viewers are obsessed with blushes. And they'll kill me if I don't add them to all of them. Hang on, I'm going to go grab my books so that I can thank anyone who has bought them, such as Brody's Ghost and Miki Falls, my 2 graphic novel series, as well as Mastering Manga and Mastering Manga 2, and now available in French. Mastering Manga 2, Dessiner des Manga. Interesting to see how they alter the cover design to fit the individual country in which it is published. But I think it is time for me to lay down this pencil. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with another one real soon.